This is the MTN 530 News.
Remembering the fallen here in Montana and all across the nation, people pause to remember those who fought and died for our country on this Memorial Day 2021. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. The annual Memorial Day ceremony was held again today at Laurel Cemetery. This year, it just so happened that a new memorial bench was placed at the cemetery for a well-known veteran, Ben Steele. Q2's Shaquille Cozart has more.
Members of the community gathered at the Laurel Cemetery on Memorial Day, as they do each year, to honor and remember our veterans. And at a separate and private ceremony shortly after, those community members came together to remember and honor former Baton March survivor and veteran Ben Steele.
Well, he was a very positive person, and when I first met him, I couldn't believe that he was positive after what he went through.
My dad was the most patriotic man I knew, and it's great to come to these ceremonies today to see people that care about the veterans and remember, never forget.
Ben Steele is known throughout the community and the nation for his artwork that told a story of the Baton Death March.
He was in the camps for 3.5 years. And that's a long time to be in slave labor. When I first saw the drawings that he was doing, I couldn't believe what he went through.
Steele died in 2016, but his legacy, along with all who have served our country, has and will live on for years to come. Reporting in Billings on Memorial Day, I'm Shaquille Cozart with MTN News.
Thank you, Shaquille. Memorial Day services were also seen and heard throughout Billings today, the largest of which was held at Mount View Cemetery. Q2's Brandon Warren was there.
On a day where countless lives are honored, hundreds showed up to pay their respects at Memorial Day services throughout the area.
Ready, fire! Ready, fire! Ready, fire!
The service at Mount View included a welcome from Billings Mayor Bill Cole and the keynote speaker, Dave Rye. Dave told stories and recounted his past while honoring the fallen, and towards the end of his speech, talked about those still with us.
All the widows and widowers and children and relatives and loved ones of those heroes. The survivors were heroes as well, and they still are.
The service also included 11 buglers playing taps. The hundreds who gathered made the event special, and it couldn't happen without them.
This only comes about because of a community backing. Veterans make it happen.
It means a lot. It helps me remember the people who will always stick in my memory.
After the initial service, there was a shorter one for those who fought in Vietnam. In Billings, Brandon Warren, MTN News.
Thank you, Brandon. Other speakers included the military liaisons for Senators Daines and Tester. Well, Butte's Memorial Day ceremony had plenty of sunshine, but it was missing its dedicated bugler, Pete Gottlieb, who died earlier this year. His presence was felt throughout the ceremony, but as MTN's John Amy reports, Montana's own Senator Tester stepped in to take Pete's place behind the horn.
It was an unusually beautiful day in Butte for such a somber event, as many gathered here at Stodden Park to remember those who fell in battle this Memorial Day.
Can't remember a Memorial Day quite like this. The sun is shining on us for a great reason today, and I just want to thank you. Enjoy your weekend, but remember why we're all here.
America, America, God shed His grace.
The reason was to honor those who died while in the service of this nation, and several people spoke about the sacrifices they made in the name of freedom. District Judge Robert Whalen talked about a new Veterans Court that's starting in Butte to help those who survived their service but need help getting their lives back together.
Perhaps the best way to honor the memory of those who died and service to our country is to serve the men and women who return. In the words of Jennifer Granholm, we honor the dead best by treating the living well.
Senator Jon Tester paid tribute to Butte World War II veteran Pete Gotland, who died in January, by playing taps during the ceremony. This was something Gotland did at every Memorial Day ceremony for decades.
On this day, you can't take over for Pete. I'll just tell you that. You try to fill his shoes, but he's legendary when it comes to taps.
Pete Gotland's daughter said she was grateful her father was remembered during this ceremony, and he would have enjoyed being here today, a ceremony that he faithfully attended every year.
This is like the first year without him. So, you know, we really miss him. It was very nice of Jon Tester to mention Pete Gotland.
That was John Amy reporting. Now turning to Chief Meteorologist Ed McIntosh in the Weather Center, and hot and dry conditions getting off to an early start, Ed, which means this is the perfect time for some preventative measures if your home may be threatened by those rangeland fires.
That's right, because we really will see some very hot and dry conditions. So perfect time to take care of things. Most of the fires that start at homes in rural areas aren't because of the structure themselves, but because something catches fire right around it. So make sure those roofs and gutters are clear of anything that could catch fire or smolder, and repair any damages to the roofs as well. Plus, keep those things away from the home, firewood and storage tanks. Plus, keep a perimeter of maybe 30 feet around, trees and shrubs trimmed, and the grass trimmed and watered as well, especially as we're going to start to see some really hot temperatures. And in the worst case scenario, make sure you have an evacuation plan in place to make sure you get those most valuable items out of the house, those pictures and that sort of thing. We'll be back with a look at the hot details of the forecast coming up.
All right, thank you, Ed. A chemical scare resulted in the partial evacuation of a Billings apartment building this afternoon. Western Towers Apartments at 429 North 33rd Street had some residents evacuate, and any other residents were ordered to shelter in place after multiple people complained of breathing problems due to a chemical in the air. The Billings hazmat crew entered the building around 3:45, exited about 45 minutes later, determining that there were no toxic gases inside the building. Out of an abundance of caution, firefighters will move bottom to top to blow out any smell that might remain. Residents have now been let back into their apartments. Well, the housing market is red hot this year, but it's not just home prices that are spiking right now. Consumer reporter John Matarese looks into soaring apartment rents and whether there's anything you can do about it.
It's not just home prices rising to insane levels this year. Rents are going up too, and some tenants are saying they may be forced to move. Barbara Hill Kelly opened her door the other day to see this note that her rent was going up, way up.
They crazy. I said, it's gotta be a mistake.
Her complex is raising her rent to $875 a month, more than another $100.
$117 to be exact.
Per month?
Per month.
But she says her 1970s apartment hasn't been updated in years.
That's $1,200 plus a year.
So what can you do if your landlord hits you with a 10 or 15% rent hike? Well, the good news is they can't do that while you're under a lease. But when your lease is up, they can raise it with just 30 days notice.
There is no rent control, and so the landlord can technically increase the rent as much as they want.
Nick Donardo, managing attorney at Legal Aid, suggests tenants use sugar, not spice, and explain why you can't afford that rent hike.
The best approach in these circumstances is to try and negotiate something with the landlord.
So why are rents going up? The biggest reasons, according to the report, demand from home buyers who can't find affordable homes to buy, rising management and maintenance costs, property tax hikes. As for Barbara's case, a leasing agent promised to pass our inquiry on to management.
Is there a manager I can speak to?
But no one ever called back. If nothing changes, Barbara may have to leave the city.
We're gonna have to save from now until June or July to move.
Bottom line, if you're facing a rent hike, try to negotiate them down a bit. That way you don't waste your money. I'm John Matarese, MTN News.
Up next on tonight's MTN 530 News here on Q2, a historical Montana building has gotten a helping hand from Montana and beyond as it tries to rise from the ashes of a devastating fire. Plus, substance abuse and an aging population have collided to create a growing public health crisis in Montana.